when it comes to productivity and all of those things, you got to remember the company's job is to keep you busy. So it should be in your best interest to stay busy, right? Clap it. I don't need any, your little productivity tracker bullshit ain't gonna work on me. I'm an adult. Stop putting watchdogs on me. How you guys doing? My name is Hero. This is Coding with Strangers, and I am currently unemployed. But don't worry, I'll have a job January 6th. So if you want to help me out till then, I got to stop burying the lead. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Anything you can do to support. Don't let a stranger fail this year. It's almost the end of the year. But we're talking about productivity and coding and things of that nature. It's a culture that has quickly become undaunted. And I don't know if people know this, but if you are using any proprietary software on your company's laptop, desktop, if you're logged in under your company's name and title, they can track you. They can track your keystrokes. Every one of those softwares, Apple, from Apple to Microsoft, they can track your keystrokes. They can tell how long you've been in a meeting. They can read all of your team messages. You shouldn't nor want to. And the assumption isn't that they're doing it every day. They're doing it when it's time for them to get rid of you, right? Let's say you have a bad evaluation. You start asking for more money, and now they want to see what you've been up to, right? So when you're at work, make sure you're at work. Don't be on Netflix and some shit. Or if you are, use your own personal device. I get it, but work is very seldom you find yourself working for 8 hours straight a day. I would literally do surgery I literally have 12-hour surgeries and still find time to sit the fuck down and think and gather myself and recover and rest, because it's not practical to be focused and on 100-mile-per-hour wind 24/7, 7 days a week. It's just not possible. So there are gaps and looms and that stuff. But the question is, where's the line at, right? Where's the submissiral line that lets us know when you're feigning into procrastination versus burnout, right? And then also, is this the same line designed for the same two types of people? There's some people who wake up, get their work done early and often, and then want to sit down for the rest of the day. Should those people be allowed to sit down while everyone is doing their work? Some people say yes. Some people say no. Because we all know about people who it's literally a form of protest, a slowdown. I've seen it only once in my life, but when a bunch of nurses wanted a pay increase and they couldn't get it, they literally all moved at half the speed. They took however long it would normally take them, they would take twice as long to do it. And it literally forced the uppers, VPs and all those people to the table to negotiate contracts. So it is a form of deterrent, and it is a way of rebellion to get higher ups to conform to need. And I think there needs to be a stronger workforce balance. We're seeing the correction from the pandemic, where people in the tech industry were getting hired with these huge contracts, and now that's over with, and we're going through a dire strait. I'm one of the lucky ones, right? I lied on my first one, told the truth on the second one, and I got the job. But don't let it fool you. I gave a 3-week notice, and I was fired on the spot. So loyalty isn't kept, it's earned, right? Let's talk about how Apple is loyal to our privacy needs, but not so much to their own workers, and a few other stories revolving around this infamous ghost developer. Apple spies on workers while championing user privacy lawsuit alleges. Damn, they sued their ass? It's not enough. Apple has long been a strong proponent of privacy as the fundamental human right, which is reflected in a service like Apple Intelligence and Private Relay. However, one Apple employee claims none of the company's privacy protections extend to workforce and is now taking matters to court. Apple is facing a new lawsuit alleging that the company has been spying on its employees by monitoring their activities on personal devices, iCloud accounts, according to Semaphore. The suit was filed on Sunday in California state court by Apple employee Amr Borak. He claims that Apple routinely engages in physical, video, and electronic surveillance of employees working from home, and that is an invasion of monitoring continuous even after individuals leave the company. Barakta, who has been working with Apple advertising technology since 2020 and leads a team of 7 professionals, further alleges that Apple has weaponized its privacy policy in ways that violates California's laws. For instance, he claims that Apple tried to silence him when he spoke publicly about digital advertising and even forced him to edit his LinkedIn profile to remove details about his role at the company. You want to know, shout out to this dude and this individual, but keep in mind, he's only doing this because now his thumb is underneath the gun, right? His neck is underneath the heel. He's been fully aware of this and part of it since 2020. That's 4 years. Now they ousted you and you want retribution. What happened to your empathy in the beginning? Don't lose sight of the fact that this person is still ultimately, while what he is doing is good, is ultimately for his own benefit. And if it wasn't because his neck was under the bus, he wouldn't give a F. You feel me? He wouldn't care. He couldn't care.
Hey, bro, I think I'm gonna head on in for the night. I'm kind of tired.
No problem. Get some rest.
Hey, didn't you work today?
12-hour shift.
And you went to the gym?
PR to 700 deadlift.
And you still got energy to do all this work? Where does the energy come from, bro?
I'm at my best when I have my zest, baby.
Kent? Zest?
The Zest Super Berry Samba Green Tea comes packed with 135 milligrams of caffeine and L-theanine. That's how I stay focused for longer and stronger throughout the day with no crash. It's way better than coffee or any of those sugar-filled energy drinks out there. No GMO, gluten-free, and it won't stain your teeth.
Oh yeah, that sounds real good. Is this one, right?
Yes, sir, that's the one. But my brother in Zest, I'm gonna need you to get your own Super Berry Samba Green Tea.
Selfish.
You mad, bro? Don't worry, I got you. Use my promotional code down below to get 20% off selected items and the subscriptions. That's Coding with Strangers, all one word. Put that in the checkout box and you'll be good to go. Thank you so much to Zest for the sponsorship. The expectation is any work computer is going to be fully logged. The fact is, but he's saying that this was happening on his personal devices, right? He said this was an invasion on his personal devices. Monitoring their activities on personal devices and cloud accounts. So if this is personal, then they have no obligation or regulation to be able to monitor that. And even if they were saying they were monitoring it for proprietary protections of their own service and good, they need a court order for that. If he can prove that they were doing that, this is an invasion of privacy of the highest magnitude. This isn't the first time Apple has faced accusations of spying on employees' devices. According to a lawsuit, Apple provides company-issued hardware and works online in iCloud accounts, but actively discourages employees from using them. Instead, the company promotes setting up work devices with personal accounts, which could give Apple access to non-work activities. Yeah, see, this is a no-go for me. One thing that I read in the clause of one of my contracts at a hospital I worked at is if they feel my phone is compromised, they could send a virus to my phone. And you had to agree to this. If you set up anything on the phone that is company-wide and gives you access to patient data, they could send a virus to your phone that will wipe your phone or brick your phone. Which is crazy. They said several factors suggest the case might not hold up under close scrutiny. For one, Barakta could be safeguarded by privacy by using a work-only iCloud account. Additionally, there's no concrete evidence that Apple is interested in monitoring employees' personal lives. It's also possible that this is bullshit. Apple isn't interested in monitoring personal lives. Apple is one of the biggest data brokers in the country. They literally sell people's data for a living. What nonsense. Who wrote this shit? And Dreen, What the fuck are you talking about? That's literally what their business model. Everyone has an iPhone. There's iPhones in third world countries. You don't think they're tracking you for personal data? The fuck? It is also possible that the information Barakta shared on LinkedIn included details Apple considered trade secrets or misrepresentation of internal company matters. Okay, if they're trade secrets, all you got to do is show us the trade secret. Prove it in court that what he was talking about was trade secret. Wow, this person is really defending Apple. And while Apple is innocent until proven guilty, the fact that they could make such a bold statement about they have no reason to monitor you. Shut up. Interesting. Barakta represented by Jan Saga and Outer Golden and Chris Baker of Baker Dollachins. Okay, a bunch of weird ass names. Both seasoned attorneys specializing in cases against companies accused of mistreating employees. Notable Baker represented Sun Tzu Flower in her high profile case against Uber involving sexual harassment and discrimination under the former CEO Travis Kalanick or whatever. So this person is used to winning, and the fact that they're representing them at least implies that he knows he can get Apple to come to. If you can get Apple to come to the table and settle, you win. That's a win-win. But I think that Apple has the capacity to do this. And the thing about it is where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So if Apple's been accused of it once, this is them being accused of it again. They didn't mention how the other one was resolved, but it's fair to believe that this is possible. But along with this comes a certain level of productivity, right? And it leads us into a situation where we might have people wondering why Apple would be so interested in monitoring people. Well, it's because of douchebag studies like this. And yes, I am being a little bit facetious. You'll find out why shortly. About 10% of developers do virtually nothing. This is by Antajai Bareji. Stanford research is developers' productivity as identified with 0.1 engineers. Stanford study examining software engineer productivity conducted on over 50,000 software engineers across hundreds of companies has found 9.5% of engineers contribute minimal work. Ghost engineers, as they are called, as the researchers named them, receive full salaries, cost companies billions each year. To draw a comparison, 10 times engineers, they're called 0.1 engineers because they output equally 0.1 median engineer work. I am at the Stanford and I research software engineer. I am at Stanford. Okay. And we have data on performance of 50,000 plus engineers from hundreds of companies inspired by D-Day's research shows 95% of, and basically, you want to look at this and you can tell that this was a sponsored research. Nothing in it really sings or screams like, we did this with good faith. This is information provided to them by companies, probably more than likely without proper context of everything that's going on. But to go over the ranks, they said IBM, basically people who work at these companies are stealing the most money, right? So if you work you're a software engineer, if you're a market, so basically IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, Google, Amazon, Cisco, and SAP, Meta, and Salesforce make up the top 10. So you're stealing the most money. You're stealing the most money. Right? Software engineers productivity research conducted at Stanford. Less than 3 commits a month. While the study's author admits that code commits are a flawed way to measure productivity because most people backlog their stuff into their personal cloud. So what does ghost engineers do to fake working? Data says 58% of them make less than 3 commits a month. And 42% make trivial changes like changing the character or line of code. maybe a line of code that needs to be updated though, which probably took them hours to research to figure out if it was the right line. When Python decides to update itself and it breaks the code. This is such mindless self-indulgence, especially coming from a programmer's perspective. But you want to know something that we don't have to worry about? Ghost, and I'll say this about the whole ghost job thing. It's a farce. Because if a plumber came to your house to fix your plumbing during Thanksgiving, and the first plumber comes in, tinkers around, tries to figure everything out, spends an hour, and can't seem to find the problem, just charges you the technical fee. And then another person comes in and says, hey, I actually know exactly what's wrong, and it's going to cost $250. And you're like, why the fuck is it going to cost $250 if you know what's exactly wrong? Well, it's because I've had experience with this, and you're paying for my experience, not for my time, right? If they're getting the job done, and the job is getting done because all those companies I mentioned are making record profits. It'd be different if Meta wasn't making record profits right now. If Amazon and Google weren't making record profits, then I would have room and space and opportunity to empathize with this problem, this disparity. But these aren't companies that are suffering. Shit, I don't even see Intel on here. Where's Nvidia? Also, when you were signing those people's contract, you were signing it because you knew that they brought value to your company. So are you having buyer's remorse? How is that possible when you getting the results you asked for? It'd be totally different if you weren't getting the results you asked for, but this is a fallacy in its own logic. You have to first prove that they're not accomplishing the goal they've set out to accomplish. This is such a reckless form of information and dissemination of it. It creates a bad faith argument that some douchebag productive manager is going to now use to implement unnecessary productivity metrics that won't begin to even scratch the barrier of the issue they're facing. But there are truly people being taken advantage of in this field and organization. It goes without saying. Right here in our good old US of A, it is completely legal to charge a person of disability less than the federal minimum wage. And companies have been taking advantage of this loophole since World War II. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. It isn't much, and contrary to what is the name might suggest, it isn't even the minimum. In 37 states, employers can legally pay certain employees less than the statutory floor, making even $7.25 an hour already far below the living wage, unattainable for millions of workers in America. Oh, I said charge, I meant pay. Well, shit, they might as well be charging your ass. Shit. By the time you pay taxes and pay the gas to get there, they're going to charge you. And you got to buy your uniform. This practice permitted under the Fair Labor Standard Act, FALSA, in 1938, thought celebrated to establish a core labor protection that many but not all workers enjoyed. Today, and it was originally designed and made for people who were coming from the war in order for them to make a living, disabled veterans. Workers enjoy today, such as the right to overtime pay and prohibition and oppressive child labor. FALSA is also responsible for codifying wages discrimination against disabled workers into federal law under the Act 14-C. Businesses that receive a certification from the U.S. Department of Labor Wages and Hourly Division are authorized to pay disabled workers whose earning or productivity capacity is impaired less than minimum wage. And it's called a sub-minimum wage. This is the rate. These rates are determined by individual disabled workers' output relative to the non-disabled counterpart. So basically, if it takes someone if someone in 1 hour can move 10 boxes and you can move only 5, then you only get paid half. You get paid half. And in a just world, this seems right. But at the same token, a system that is designed to help people who are disadvantaged shouldn't first punch them, then help them, right? Furthermore, if you remove this clause, you could still pay the same. The company isn't struggling to pay this worker. The company is simply doing this to save money. And in turn, these would make people more disabled. So we also know that there's a study that says that, if you remove these handicaps that are actually roadblocks, you will eventually create more positions for both sides, where both more abled and disabled individuals can acquire jobs that will pay them at least equal pay, right? So while we sit here and talk about, companies being robbed, probably, maybe by ghost developers, we have true examples of people in America being robbed legally using sub-minimum wage. And there's nothing that you can really tell me that's going to make me say, I feel bad for these companies, when they're 37 states are okay with paying people with disabilities half just to save a buck. But that's just my perspective. Maybe I'm a bleeding heart. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think.